Namaste and welcome back. In today's series of Sanskrit Musings, let's visit, you guessed it, a few more names of Arjuna, of course. This name for Arjuna was phalguṇa. He was called phalguṇa because he was born on the star of Uttara Phalguna. For that reason, one of the names he had was phalguṇa. That was very simple, wasn't it? So we have time for a couple more names today. He was also called bhībhatsu. That means a person who instilled terror in his enemies. He was an absolute terror in the battlefield, and all his enemies would be very, very afraid of Arjuna. So he earned the very appropriate name bhībhatsu. Another name we will learn for Arjuna today is kṛṣṇa. Yes, Arjuna was also called kṛṣṇa, lovingly by his own father Pandu, because he was a dark-skinned child. Like they say, tall, dark, handsome. Dark was actually considered handsome too. And lovingly, Pandu called him as kṛṣṇa. So that was one of the names of Arjuna. We will visit in detail why Lord Krishna was called kṛṣṇa, because it had a few more meanings other than just dark-skinned. And there was somebody else also who was called Krishna for the reason of her skin color. kṛṣṇa actually, that was Draupadi. Draupadi was also called kṛṣṇa because she is Strilinga. It is A, the long one, the Dirgham, but Arjuna was kṛṣṇa. Now that we have learned so many names of Arjuna, let's string them all together. In south of India, some of you may have heard or seen people when they're afraid, they chant, especially when it is thunder and lightning, they're afraid of something. You hear them chant Arjuna phalguṇa, Arjuna phalguṇa. What is the relevance of it? Where did this start? Well, actually, there is a story behind that too. Arjuna had few different names, and when they were incognito after Ajñātavāsam, they were in Virata's empire, and Duryodhana and his troop discovered that Pandavas are hiding in the Virata empire. To bring them out of incognito, they attacked the Virata kingdom. And the prince there, Uttarakumara, he was of course a bragger, and he bragged that he is so brave and he would have fought the army away provided he had a charioteer. And Arjuna, who was disguised as a damsel, Brihannala, who was a dance teacher, he offers to be the charioteer. Now Uttara had no other reason to refuse to go fight the war, but obviously he was not capable. But then in the middle of the battlefield, Arjuna says, you know what, don't worry. He reveals his true identity to Uttara, and he says, don't worry about it. I'll take care of the battle for you. Just go get the weapons that we have hidden in the Shami Vriksham. And Uttarakumara doesn't believe him. And he says, really, you can't be Arjuna. And then he says, and even to bring the weapons, he's really afraid. And Arjuna says, you know what, just chant my names and all fear will go away. And that's when he gave him the shloka with his names. Arjuna phalguṇa parthaha kiriti shvetavahanaha bhībhatsur vijayah kṛṣṇa savyasachi dhananjayaha. He gave all these names and he said, chant these names and no fear will come near you. That's probably where the practice started with. But instead of saying the whole shloka, people just probably resorted to saying the first two words and they just chanted Arjuna phalguṇa, Arjuna phalguṇa. But yeah, this was the story behind Arjuna's many different names and why it gives you courage. Let's see why it gives us courage. Because Arjuna was steadfast, focused, a terror to his enemies, always victorious, and also he was very straightforward, and all these attributes, and he brought wealth. All these attributes are what we want to be courageous. For that reason, to remind ourselves of all the attributes of Arjuna, the shloka was given to make one courageous. A lot to contemplate today. Until next time, happy musing.